Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry it's so loud at the front. Okay, that means, when I say ladies and gentlemen, that means stop talking. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. Again, I know it's a long night, I know there's a lot to get through, information overload, but you're all flat earthers, you can cope with it. Alright, that's the first thing. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, we have the only man that's come to all of our other birthdays and spoke, great friend of mine, amazing man, amazing knowledge. Please give it up, a big flat earth social welcome to the legend that is Dave Murphy, a legendary Dave. Thank you very much.
Hello everyone. Hello everyone.
Hello, Dave!
I'm going on. All right. Right, okay, so everything Martin said was rubbish. No, pretty much what Martin told you was the what. I'm actually going to talk about the why and the how, okay? So I've got a different view from what Martin has. So I'm going to be talking about the greater Earth. Okay, so as flat earthers, we're used to this model, yeah, so the straight, this is the extent of our Earth, okay? There are other people who come up with other models, I mean, this infinite plane, so where Earth is just one puddle in an infinite plane of many. I don't really subscribe to that idea, you know. So also the flat Earth has this firmament over it. Now I've kind of looked into the firmament, and what I found interesting was there was a video of a space shuttle launch, but it was shot from a plane. Okay, so I think I have to play this.
Yeah.
So you can see that bright spot there.
Sorry. You see like the bright light back there?
Now, bear in mind that the plane is at 35,000 feet,
Yeah.
which is about 7 miles up.
Look how fast it's going, yeah. Look how fast.
So when it crosses the line here, the horizon, that means it's 7 miles high. Okay? And so it starts to follow that trajectory we always see, yeah? So, I'm not going to play the whole thing. So what I did was I took stills from this video and patched together the whole flight of that shuttle, okay? And then extrapolated how high the shuttle went up. So here we go. So that's 7 miles, yeah? So that means I could work out how high it might go. So basically just work out, 70 odd miles there. And then I patched together all the images, and you notice, and then I extrapolated out the rest of the flight path. You notice it goes below 70 miles. Yeah. Now, all of the flights, all of the space flights, yeah, they all do the same trajectory. They are all under 70 miles. Yeah. So it goes along with this. This video that I guess most of you have already seen, the Go Faster rocket. Everyone seen that one? Yeah. I'm going to play it anyway, I don't care.
Do it.
Okay, here it is. Okay, I'll play it. So this is an amateur rocket.
One that goes straight up rather than,
So it's going up very fast and it's spinning wildly as it goes up. So it's going past the level of oxygen. That's hitting the noble gases, so the sound is going. Look at the speed it's spinning. And then 3, 2, 1. Yeah? Something something stopped that massive amount of forward motion and that spin, right? But it wasn't something physical because it would have smashed that rocket to pieces, right? Something not quite physical, you know, just stop that massive amount of inertia, right, in both axes, yeah. So I think it's some kind of non-physical barrier. Maybe it's a super dense layer of air or water or whatever. So I think, whereas we've got a physical firmament, we've also got a much lower level, somewhere around 70, 80 miles high, some kind of barrier that stops us from going any higher up. So the sun, moon and stars are in, or sun, moon and the planets are in that area. So we can't actually get to the sun, but they're in that area. And then you've got the firmament where the stars are in. Okay?
Can't be true, David, because in the paper today it said the space station's 471.
I'm going to turn this off then. I've got it wrong. But yeah, I think there's a barrier that stops us going any higher. Okay, and I think I don't know if anyone's come across the sky stones. Yeah, this is a really odd material that doesn't actually appear anywhere else on Earth, but it just falls from the sky occasionally. And apparently it's made of what, 77% oxygen, which is odd. Yeah, and it's got this this deep blue colour, but nobody knows where it comes from. But the legend is it falls straight from the sky. So I believe this could be what the molten glass the Bible says the firmament is made of. So going back to this idea that there's some kind of barrier, it's about what, 80 odd miles. I think David Weiss has got a couple of really interesting pictures of two suns in the sky, okay? But the real sun is back here, and it's projecting a spot on that layer about 80 miles up. So you notice that spot, okay, just do a second. But you'll notice that spot is dim, and it's behind that layer, and it's shining on the layer where it's really bright. Okay, it's not lens flare, because that bit is lens flare. Yeah, that thing that's moving is lens flare. That's the original sun, and that's where it's projected on the surface of that area. That's why, because it's projected on the surface, if I'm here, it'll be projecting on a different place. If I'm over there, I'll see it somewhere else. Yeah, so it accounts for the weird sort of measurements that people get trying to measure where the sun is. Now, a lot of people have already seen that after Admiral Byrd went to Antarctica, the Encyclopedia Americana basically said in Antarctica, it says there's a dome at 13,000 feet high. Okay, that kind of correlates. What's 13,000 feet? I think it's 2.5 miles high. That kind of correlates with what happened with Admiral Byrd's planes. He went over there with a whole load of planes.
And all planes in that area.
Yeah,
all
and
planes.
half of them didn't come back.
All planes for commercial aircraft going in can only fly 11,000 feet, not higher.
Yeah. So literally, I think he went over there, went to explore with the planes, and kept smashing into the dome. Okay, and came back with half the planes. So interestingly, we know that rainbows are some kind of indication that there is a dome, because it's a dome shape. But when you see a rainbow in Canada, which is quite far up north, you see this kind of well-defined dome. You go down to Australia, see a rainbow not quite so high, and this is a rainbow from Antarctica.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So literally, depending on where you are in the dome, you'll see the rainbows show you the elevation of the dome. Yeah. Also, looking at the sky. So this is where you got the noble gases. So down at our level, we have oxygen, nitrogen, and a few other gases, carbon dioxide. But higher up in the atmosphere, you have all the noble gases. So hydrogen, helium, neon, argon, krypton, xenon, and
Neon.
that's not. Oh,
Neon.
yes, it's a neon. Yeah,
Oh.
that's nitrogen. Oh, look. So when you put a strong electric field next to them, this is what happens. So, okay, it's just showing you what the gases are. So it's going to put a Tesla coil. So notice the colours you get are very reminiscent of the colours you find in the sky. Yeah? So it's like if the sun is a very strong electric field, it actually causes daylight. So you've got sunshine and daylight, two different things. Okay? Daylight is the actual atmosphere fluorescing in the presence of a strong electric field. Now, if that's the case, then it would make sense that the sun is a positive charge and the moon is a negative one, right? So, because that's the way that this world works, positive and negative, okay? So, if we look at our atmosphere, so I think we've got all the heavier gases down here that we breathe, and we've got the electromagnetic barrier for, I assume it's electromagnetic, and then you've got all the noble gases. The sun is up here with a hydrogen and helium. So I think it's perhaps the sun kind of wavers a bit. So in helium it's yellow, but when it goes up to the hydrogen, it's again that sort of LED white. Okay, so it may be sort of fluctuating between these two layers. Down here is the moon. The moon's negative. And we've noticed, obviously, that the moon puts out a cold light. Okay? Well, it's interesting that these gases, krypton, argon, and neon, generate a cold atmospheric plasma. So they can create cold with lasers using these gases. So it's interesting that the moon could be down here generating a cold light. Okay. So as above, so below. I take it everyone's seen this. This is from I think it's Deep Planet or something. Was it that David Attenborough thing? Blue Planet. So this guy was filming for Blue Planet, and he was at the deepest part of the ocean, and he was in this mini sub, and he found this.
Without a doubt, one of the most amazing things that I have ever seen in the bottom of the ocean. It was while filming for Blue Planet in the Gulf of Mexico. And I noticed there's something out in the distance. Couldn't tell exactly what, but it looked like a dark band. And as we approached it, the dark band became a donut. I saw this donut. It was black in the center. What the heck? And so as we get closer and closer to it, I noticed that the black band had what appeared to be kind of steam over it. And then I looked, and there was water lapping against the shoreline. This band was a ring of mussels. And inside the ring of mussels was a lake. And it's like, wait a minute, I'm already underwater. And we went out over the water in this lake and tried to descend in it and bounced off. It was so super saline and dense that the submarine couldn't go down and we literally bounced off. And as we bounced off, we sent ripples heading back to the shoreline. It was insane.
So perhaps we have this barrier up above us and one down below us to stop us going too far outside of this realm. Okay. Interestingly, this guy died in mysterious circumstances after making this film. Yeah, so interesting. So What I want to say, to put forward here is this idea of the greater Earth. That our Earth is just one small part of a much larger Earth. Okay. Now, this is something that was put out a few years ago. Don't know if anyone saw this. What's History of Flat Earth? Well, it was great, a great sort of series, which he's gone back on most of it actually. Which I personally think.
Switch.
I think he was, you know, he did a Jerry Campanella on us there, you know. But that's just my opinion. But I haven't seen too many people talking about, you know, some of the things he put forward. So for the people who haven't seen what he was talking about, he noticed there was a problem with the maps. The problem with the maps is that on our maps these days we have the Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn. And nobody's really wondered why we call them, you know, Cancer and Capricorn. Well, it turns out, depending on what age we're in, right, so we're supposed to be in the age of Pisces moving into the age of Aquarius, right, but depending on what age we're in, that determines what the tropics are. So when we're in the age of Aries, so we've got the zodiac wheel here. When we're at the age of Aries, I believe that's, hang on, always get these mixed up. The solstices, right? So the solstices are in the sun rises in Aries and Libra, and in the equinoxes, sun rises in Capricorn and Cancer. So in the age of Aries, the tropics are going to be called Cancer and Capricorn. But we haven't been in the age of Aries for over 2,000 years, apparently. So when we moved to Pisces, it should have been, I think, so when we went to Pisces, it should have been changed to Sagittarius and Gemini, but it didn't. So it could mean that our maps are over 2,000 years out of date. So maybe we don't know what our Earth looks like because our maps are 2,000 years out of date. But it's possible there is actually another map around out there on the moon. Okay, so it looks like the moon, that distinct pattern on the moon, seems to be like an image that's been burned into it. Or as he puts it, there's two images burnt into it. Okay, and one of those images is literally a map of the land surfaces of the Earth. But this doesn't represent the whole Earth, or our whole Earth. Turns out this part looks like our Earth. And there are people who've measured the distances here and identified that this actually is what our Earth looks like. Okay? So we've got this bit, but we've got also this bit out here that we can't get to. Inaccessible to us. Now, a few people might have seen, has anybody seen this map? Yeah? There are people saying that this is an old map. But when I first saw it, I found a Telegram group in Germany where the guy was drawing this map. So I know it's a fake if they're trying to say it's an old map. No, this guy was actually drawing it. I can't find the Telegram group now, but it was one in German, and he was showing the step-by-step of drawing this. But essentially, what it's showing here is our Earth, and out here, beyond Antarctica, are other lands which are covered in ice at the moment. Okay. So what's really happening is there is a magnetic centre here. It's not actually the centre of the actual greater Earth, but there's a magnetic centre, and the sun and moon go around this magnetic centre. But here's the twist. That magnetic centre itself is moving slowly around the greater Earth, taking the sun and moon with it, melting out a different puddle. What's interesting is that has anybody been to Prague? I know Martin has gone to. Okay, all right. So there's a Prague astronomical clock. Now I went to Prague as part of the Flat Earth European tour, and we ended up in Prague, and we met a guy called Jan there, a local, and he told us that this map in the middle of the clock here, that wasn't the original map. The clock got destroyed in World War II, and when they restored it, they replaced the map that was there with this meaningless globe map. But there was something else there. Okay. Now, look into this. So there's the centre of the actual clock, and you can see that there's this crossbeam where this zodiac wheel is mounted. So the zodiac wheel is literally going to spin around the actual whole face of the clock, just like I'm describing the Earth does. So yeah, that's the Earth. That would represent what our Earth is. And also notice that the Sun and Moon are mounted in the middle of that zodiac wheel, not in the middle of the clock, in the middle of that zodiac wheel. So as that wheel moves around, the Sun and Moon are spinning around that zodiac wheel. Am I clear? Yeah? So literally it's describing what I'm describing is going on with the Earth. Also, funnily enough, it's very difficult to see. Let's go back here a sec. You can see these tracks here. So these tracks, they always point to the centre of the clock. So no matter where they go, they'll always point to the centre. And the Sun and Moon are on these stalks here, but the Sun and Moon actually can move up and down these tracks. So, it's funny, maybe the Sun can sometimes leave the Earth. So we've heard of, when we have 3 days of darkness. Maybe those times are where the Sun actually goes outside of our Earth ring. Yeah. Now, I actually went to try and figure out how this astronomical clock works. There's a lot of people giving explanations of how to tell the time with this clock. But it turns out they're all lying, right? Because here's an example. So I'm not going to put the sound on because it's I think it's in Prague-ish or whatever. But have you noticed something a bit odd about this clock? Well, no, that's how the clock goes. But the only thing that's wrong is look at where the Sun and Moon are mounted. They're mounted at the centre of the entire clock. But in real life, they're mounted on here. Yeah? So they're lying. So if they were basing how the clock works on this, it's a lie. Because the Sun and Moon, according to this, is going around the whole clock. But it's not in reality. In reality, it's mounted there, not there. So their explanations of how the clock works are a lie. Yeah? It's a total lie. I don't think this was meant to be a clock. Okay? This is, again, I meant to put this earlier, but this is when it got destroyed in World War II. Okay? As I said, I don't think this is meant to be a clock. I think this is a reset counter. Right? A reset counter, okay? I'm going to go into why I think that in a little while, okay? Yeah, this is from...
Every 2,160 years, our north magnetic pole circles the inner solid core and vortex by 30 degrees. This is why the pole has moved from Canada and is en route to Siberia. It is traversing the outer central circle, or what is more appropriately termed the magnetic circle. We live inside of a perfect clock.
Yeah, so that was from Iwar Anon's original video. And this is what I'm saying. I don't think, these are supposed to be clocks. I think they've been repurposed as clocks. You can tell the time with them, but I think they're meant to show, you know, the progression around our Earth, okay? Because, you know, why have these clocks got 12 hours when there's 24 hours in a day? Does anybody wonder that? Yeah? Doesn't make sense. You know, why would you use it twice to yeah. You'd have a clock with 24 marks on it, wouldn't you? It's funny that the 12 hours match the 12 zodiac signs. Okay? I think these clocks were meant to show the ages and warn us when the next calamity, when the next shift was going to be. Okay? Because if you think about it, if we're using the Prague astronomical clock and our Earth is actually shifting very slowly, what we'd see, this is what we see constantly. The leading edge of Antarctica that's moving is going to be constantly melting. Okay? And when Antarctica starts melting as the Earth moves, new continents appear from under the ice. And what we find on those new continents is buildings, is whole cities already built. Okay? Martin says it's you know, Tartaria. No, I don't think so. Okay? Where is Tartaria on the map today?
It's not existing.
It's not Russia. Well, it's very specific, not just Russia.
Siberia.
Well, it's a name that's very on everyone's lips today. Ukraine. Who lived in the Ukraine before? The Khazars. Who are the Khazars today? The Ish people. Yeah? They used to be called the name stealers. Yeah, they'd go around stealing everybody's identity. Okay? And I believe they're just they're just grabbing onto this Tartaria and saying, we did it, we're superior, we created all this. No, they didn't. I believe that this is a worldwide architecture. And in all those areas that are now at the moment under ice, there are continents with whole cities already built by previous civilizations. And they use one style of architecture, which is why you find the same architecture all over the world today. Architecture you'd expect in Greece, you find in China and Japan and Thailand. Yeah, it's a worldwide architecture. And yeah, I think these from the world fairs. I think to hide this, again, I think they had the people we're up against. They knew that we were going to go through regular resets, regular calamities, where we would, possibly have to start again. And because of that, they thought they'd use it at the last one to take advantage and hide all the technology, hide all the information, and thereby take control of us. Because if one person has superior knowledge, they can rule over everybody else. Okay? So yes, we find all this amazing architecture. Again, this is the Paris World Fair. This is a Chicago World Fair, all lit up like at a time when they were struggling to light up, parts of New York City. Most of New York City was gaslit at the time, but they managed to light this place up like a Christmas tree. And as Martin was saying, we've got churches that are submerged under the ground. We've got structures that are so incredible that no, we couldn't build that today. Yeah. The smoking gun, though, is San Francisco. This is a panoramic shot, right, from 1878. Now, the story is that San Francisco was founded in 1849 by a whole load of miners looking for gold. But this is a city, 29 years later, housing millions. And notice the lumps of earth, like it's been excavated. And some of the buildings looking old. Yeah? This is a city built for millions. 29 years after the first miners arrived there. Okay? No, they didn't build this place. It was already there. In fact, this is one of the oldest photographs. I think it's from 1850. Again, 1 year after San Francisco was founded, and this is a picture of San Francisco. Well, this building looks old, yeah? So it's been there for a long while. And if you look on some old maps, from 1548, San Francisco. Now this is way before, a couple of hundred years, well maybe, yeah, 200 years before Americans, so-called Americans were there. But San Francisco is already there, okay? Now, to support this idea, this magnetic centre moving around the Earth, if you look at where magnetic north has moved over the years, you can see it's moved from Canada, and as he said, it's moving towards Siberia. But interestingly, when you look at 1900 to 1920, and then compare that to 2000 and 2020, yeah, it's speeding up, isn't it? Yeah. So here's 40 years here, same distance for the same time. This is the distance of 40 years. Same with 100 years here is the same as 20 years. Okay, it's speeding up. So this idea that it takes 2,160 years to go from one age to the next, I don't think it's true, because it's not a smooth rotation. It's an acceleration spurt. Then I think it settles down again and then speeds up for the next one. Yeah. Does anybody heard of the time in London when it got so cold that the entire Thames froze over and they're having street fairs and things on it? Yeah? Heard about that? Yes, Dave.
Yes, Dave.
Hey, I know it's late. Yeah, so imagine this scenario. What if it got colder and colder after this? It just kept getting colder and colder and colder, to the point where people couldn't live there anymore. And so they left. And they found a whole nother little island with cities built already built on there. And they called that England. And they called a particular city London. Yeah, they moved, but all that knowledge was lost. Okay, maybe that's a possibility. And then these cities that they found with all this amazing architecture, they just went through, you know, things like a great fire perhaps, and all sorts of other calamities like wars to get rid of all that architecture. Because this looks like one of those world fairs, doesn't it? Doesn't it? Yes. Now this is Cheapside in London. This is what Cheapside in London used to look like. But does it look like that now? I think the only thing that's still there is this building. Everything else is gone. Replaced by those horrible slab buildings, yeah? Now I believe that that's what they've done. They've literally replaced, in this country, they've replaced all these amazing buildings with these crappy buildings that depress the soul, right? Now I was down at Canberra Sands the other day, and I noticed that there's all these rocks for miles and miles, all the way down the seafront. There's all these rocks, but each one of these rocks has a flat surface. I think you can just about see them. I can't find any close-ups, but every one of those rocks has a perfectly flat and shiny surface on one side. So it looks like they've literally destroyed all these buildings and then dumped all the rubble from those buildings along the seafront, right? I saw some, I think there was a guy called Paul Cook. Anyone?
Yeah,
he's
a good guy.
He was talking about red bricks, that there's lots of red bricks being hidden around this country. Right? And I went to my local forest, Friston Forest, and they've got these gravel paths, miles and miles of these gravel paths. But where these paths get worn, you notice there's loads of red brick under it. They've literally destroyed all this architecture and hid it. The point is also that you don't find trees older than 300 or 400 years in this country. All the forests are man-made as well. Okay, So this is a young land. Okay. I'm going to talk a little bit about the biblical end and tie this in. Right. So the biblical end. In Genesis 6:3, it said, "And the Most High said, my spirit shall not always strive with man, for he's also flesh, and yet his days shall be 120 years." Now I'm not sure that's true, because the Bible doesn't really. If you go into it and look at the Book of Jubilees, for instance, the book that was taken out, the Bible doesn't really talk about years so much. It talks about things in jubilees, right? So in the Book of Jubilees, right, it doesn't literally focus on years, because it's talking about big swaths of time. It talks about jubilees. Now jubilee is every 50 years, so it's always in blocks of 50 years. So that's 7 years times 7, and then the next year is a jubilee. Okay. So 120 jubilees is 6,000 years.
Right.
Interesting. So again, in the book, a day for the Most High is like 1,000 years, and he always says over and over again, there's 6 days of work or strife and 1 day of rest. 6,000 years of work and 1,000 years of rest. Okay. So on a jubilee year, everything is reset. Okay, so all property goes back to its original owner. All debts are forgiven. Yeah, everything resets on a jubilee year. In fact, when I was looking at through the Book of Jubilees, I actually figured out why the Israelites had to wander through the desert for 40 years, because they ended up going back to their land on the 50th Jubilee, which is the only time they could have come back, because all land goes back to its original owner on a Jubilee year. So the next Jubilee, after I think the 49th Jubilee, is when Moses was talking to the Pharaoh. So the only time they could go back was on a Jubilee, when all property goes back to its original owner. Yeah?
Dave, sorry, 1,000 years. I'm trying to tie it into the millennial reign here. 1,000 years of rest. I mean, am I wrong?
Sorry.
No, I mean, but that's where a lot of people think, right, with the old architecture, and you're saying it there.
Well, what I'm saying is that I think that this 2,160 year space between each age, I don't think that's right. Okay, I think we've been hinted, we've got hints around our world that it's actually 500 years for each segment. Okay, so 500 years times 12 is 6,000 years. Okay, so if we go to Second Esdras, which is a book from the Apocrypha. Right?
Don't read it. Never read that.
It talks about, right, how old is the earth? Ezra basically asks the angel, well, how old is the earth? And the angel says, the world has lost its youth, and times begin to wax old. For the world is divided into 12 parts, and 10 parts of it are gone already, and a half of a 10th part. And that there remaineth that which is after half of the 10th part. So it's basically saying 2.5 parts remain. Okay? In Daniel, it basically echoes what's said. It says, okay, and they shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out saints of the Most High, and to think to change times and laws, and they shall be given into his hand until a times, and a dividing of times. 2.5. Time, dividing of time. Yeah? So both of them, sorry?
Wouldn't it be 3.5? If it's time, that's 1, and times, that's 2.
2, and dividing of half. Yeah? Time times, well, that's what I'm thinking. This is me putting puzzle pieces together. Time times and the dividing of time. I think, to my mind, that says 2.5.
Because further on, Daniel says it's 42 months, and that's 3.5 years.
Well, no, Daniel's talking about this so-called prophecy that the Christians think is a prophecy of JC. This is talking about time that's given into the hand of the wicked, essentially. So I'm just saying that there's a correlation here that's talking about 2.5 times. So I'm saying that both Ezra and Daniel agree that there's 2.5 parts left for the time of Earth. So if the total is 6,000 years, then a part would be 6,000 divided by 12, which is 500 years, leaving from Ezra's days 1,250 years roughly, okay, which would make the end of the 6,000 years, according to this, our calendar, somewhere between 850 and 1030 AD. Well, obviously that means we've gone past it. But is it really 2025? Is it really? Yeah. Well, there's this mathematical Russian mathematician, Anatoly Firmament. Anybody heard of him?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he posited that they've added 1,000 years to our calendar. And what he did was he was looking at eclipses. Okay, he was looking at eclipses as they were written about in historical works, and then he calculated when the eclipses should be, and he found that all these accounts were shifted 1,000 years. Okay, so they added 1,000 years to the calendar, and the best time for them to do that was a changeover from Julian to Gregorian. Okay, remember the church was in charge of the calendar. Yeah. So what it seems they did, when in this changeover, they supposedly added 10 days, but they added 10 days and 1,000 years. Okay, so 582 became 1582. Right? So you've probably seen a lot of these. That you'll see that these dates have an I or a J in front of them. And people just automatically assume it just means one. But today we say, well, we don't do it nowadays, but we would say like AD 1942 or AD 2000, right, year of our Lord. Right? The letter J or I was JC, yeah? Eusus or Jesus, yeah? So year of our Lord, 686. Yeah, and then at some point they just just turn the I or the J into a 1, and now 1,000 years has been added. Yeah, so there's lots of references where this I 690 is actually 1690. Yeah, so I believe they added 1,000 years to our calendar, because how many people think that bubonic plague only happened once? Because I only remember one time in history.
Plenty of plagues.
Yeah, but bubonic plague, right? This idea that rats were. Right? I thought it only happened once. Yeah, it turns out also happened in 536, and all these other things happened in 536. Things like well, I've got it written down here. Perpetual darkness, bubonic plague, a massive population decline, crop failures, wars, temperature drops.
Sun moving. That's the sun.
That's the sun moving. Yeah, all sort of things. That lots of people dying all of a sudden, and populations having to move from one place to another. Yeah, it's also the same as the general crisis of the 17th century. Exactly the same things that happened, in 536 happened then. Okay, so I think it's the same actual event.
Yeah, but these could all be stories, because now in 100 years' time they're going to say like Condé was, a mass event that killed millions of people. We have no proof that these happened, do we?
Exactly, we've got no proof. No. So again, we're believing stories, but we've been told that this happened, which I don't remember. I don't remember seeing any of this, but this happened, and this was a separate event. I'm saying I think they're the same event. Okay. So what if an age is actually 500 years, and 500 years ago was the last reset, yeah, where continents started disappearing, and so whole populations had to move, there was massive death, there was disease because of it, and so on and so on. Okay, and the people that run the world today, right, took advantage of that. Right. So what if the calendars also were changed and concocted to hide it? So I tried, looking at the book of Jubilees, I tried to figure out by connecting events in the book of Jubilees to something in our historical narrative to try and figure out when the last Jubilee might be. Okay. Not surprisingly, I couldn't figure it out. I couldn't link it to anything. But knowing what this cabal is like, okay, they like to put stuff right in front of us. They like to put the truth right in front of us and just rub our noses into it, yeah, so they can laugh about us. Okay, so I thought, okay, if they're like that, what would this Jubilee look like? Does anybody remember this?
Yeah.
Now, they made a huge deal of the Silver Jubilee, didn't they? There was 3 parties everywhere. Everyone was buying mugs and flags and all this stuff. It was a massive deal. Does anybody remember the Golden Jubilee? No, no big deal. What about the Platinum Jubilee? No, no big deal. This was a big deal, though. What if, right, 1977 was the penultimate Jubilee? Well, that would make the next Jubilee 2027. Yeah, the final Jubilee. This could be. So whether it's exactly exactly that day, we're in the season of the end of the 6,000 years. Right. So in the Old Testament, it basically says that, you know, we're going to have a second Exodus. Remember, when these calamities happen, whole populations have to move. Okay, so again, I think we're coming into this time. We're coming into this time with this next reset, and whole populations are going to have to move. I think the elites know. They know when this next one's coming. This is why they're building all these bunkers underground. Okay, I think Zuckerberg has got this massive complex, and who else was it? Gates, I heard something as well. Musk as well. Okay, so I think you know, as a result of this, I think we should start investing in cement trucks. So I'll leave it there. That's all I'll say. Right. Thanks very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, come on! Come on! Well, ladies and gentlemen, listen, it's pretty clear that we live in a realm that we're just working out. Okay, we're just working out. Flat Earth is in its latest resurgence. It's about 10 years old. We all got Flat Earth. We all worked out the vaccine scam. We're all trying to work out where we are and what's going on. And it's events like this that make the vibration high. I thank you all, and thank you once again for these amazing speakers. And I really appreciate the fact that you've all made the effort on a shitty Tuesday night. God bless you all. Thank you very much. Can I just say, next month we have the wonderful, they're sat here tonight, Hitami and Adi, who have written an amazing book, I might say, about the soul's journey through our flat earth. They're presenting next month with their book. Please come along, it's going to be an amazing time. But for now, ladies and gentlemen, we've had 3 speakers, Mark Devlin, Martin Leaker, and the wonderful, allegedly Dave Murphy. Thank you very much. We really appreciate your time. Thank you.